mention in the first lesson. So we have a lot of type of investigation. Okay, whatever platform we have, like network or computer or intuition investigation, electronic discovery, disk forensics, cyber forensics, hypervisor forensics. So that is there. So, but one thing you can see, forensic is common. Okay, so suppose that you are using network environment and there is something you want to analyze. So you want to collect the data and then you will analyze the data. You will try to do some attribution in that. So you are applying forensic process. So when I am saying computer forensics or when I am saying network forensics, hypervisor forensics, we have to see the forensic is science. Forensic is set of procedures which we are applying on the various platform, either hypervisor or cloud or image or RAM or email, something like that. So that is there. Pankaj sir, if you are listening me, I just want to confirm if you have started the session.
Yes, sir. You have been started.
Yeah. Session is recording, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, got it. Thanks. So I am not going to discuss all kind of forensics here. Like I will just give you a brief of all these things, like computer forensics, network forensics, cloud forensics. What is this? What kind of work we do when we have network forensics? What kind of those devices which we focus to extract the data? So that is there. So computer forensics, there is one very good document. These references will always be there. You can go and you can check. So you may think 2008 ka data kyun liya? Why are we focusing on this one? Because computer forensics is not like a very sure, we will share. Okay, so computer forensics science behind this has been developed from long ago. So doesn't matter. It's like there will be no change in the definition of computer forensics. So that's why I have added here. So when you are going to do, what will you focus? Like external or internal drive, memory, interface connections, display devices, keyboard, mouse, everything. Okay, and the devices, whatever is there, you will focus on that. And potential evidences may be those documents, photos, email attachments, okay, database, chat logs, event log, stored information, whatever can be collected, you try to collect or you try to image that drive. And then later we will see that which evidence is actually providing some information or leading us towards the investigation process. So that is one thing. So I want to know, before going further, I want to know how many of you watch this kind of web series or movies, spy movies, where they try to do investigation and I know one serial on DD1 that was Surag the Clue. How many of you have seen that? Okay. Okay. Probably not the new generation. So that is one thing. Yeah. So I was very much liking that one, and they had some kind of, obviously they were not doing cloud forensics or even computer forensics, but yeah, they had some case studies. Each and every episode they had some case studies, and that guy tried to collect the evidence from various sources, ask various people that, okay, do you know this one, can you lead me this one, and something like that. And these days I think that series CID, Tehqiqat, okay, yeah, a lot of people are joining us from different zones, so they may have different program also they have seen. So these days CID, that is very much famous. I don't know, I don't like that, but yeah, they also try to do some kind of investigation. Yeah, so they try to collect various information. And Sometimes it happened that you are collecting the evidence, but you don't know that whether this evidence will help to do further analysis or not. But yeah, at the time of collection or at the time of acquisition of the data, if you know the location of that evidence, don't think okay, we should collect the data randomly. Don't collect randomly. Whatever information is there, you try to collect from there, and it will help. And after that, okay, pre-processing we do before final analysis. Okay, we do various kind of pre-processing, and if we feel that okay, the data is not that much scientific, we can delete it. Network forensics, like in computer forensics, we focus mostly on the computer related hardware devices or the database which are stored there, or the information which are stored there. But when we come to the network forensics, we come to the various different parts. Now, earlier we had that personal computer or desktop system, and it was only one device. Okay, now when I am talking about network, we have various other devices like hub, switch, routers, modems. Okay, and then what kind of evidences we want to collect? So computer related logs, PCAP files, packet capture files. Okay, MAC address, network logs. Okay, can anyone tell me? Do you know any software which can help us for this network forensics tool? Any tool? Anyone?
Jambo files, sir. Jambo files.
Jambo files. Okay. Any other tool?
Wireshark.
Yeah, Wireshark. Yeah, that's very popular. Very popular tool. So
Nmap may also be useful for it.
yeah.
Network mapper.
Pro and yeah, there are.
Port scanning, sir. Port scanning.
Exactly. Right. That we can do. Yeah. So why am I discussing this one? Because I will discuss tool taxonomy in this one. What is the taxonomy? Okay, when you have a tool, okay, you can collect some particular kind of data. But in cloud forensics, when we are talking about, okay, we don't know that what kind of data we should collect. What is the data which are important? Okay, you are now thinking, okay, now I have knowledge about cloud computing. Now I have knowledge about digital forensics. Let's try to make a tool. Let's try to write code, some Python code, Golang code, and then you try to develop some tool. But first thing which should come in your mind, that what is the data which you are looking for? How will you collect that data? Okay, like when I am saying that, okay, network forensics, I'm going to do network forensics, and I will use Wireshark, or I will use Network Miner. Okay, you know that I am going to talk about the PCAP files or some network related information or any log, something like that. When I am saying cloud, what is that data? What is that various components which are involved in the cloud? So as I discussed that cloud forensics, network forensics, database forensics, cyber forensics, computer forensics, something like that. Forensic is common. So forensic is actually a science, set of process, set of procedure that we apply on the infrastructure. And cloud, you already know, it's a service delivery model which have storage facility, networking facility. It uses the virtualization technology. It's a new IT model. Okay, so that is there. I think if I remember correctly, Govil sir has mentioned when he was discussing about the cloud forensic challenge. So he said that I have added cloud forensic here in this slide, if you can see that fifth column. So he said, okay, now we will talk about IoT forensics. That is already there. A lot of papers are there related to IoT forensics. And then we will talk about fog forensics. We will talk about mist forensics. We will talk about edge forensics. So that will be added, but forensic will be because forensic is science, and that science we want to apply if we want to investigate some particular architecture. Okay, so that is there. In cloud forensics, like we focus on the various endpoint devices, service models, deployment models. Okay, we try to check what kind of deployment model is there. Okay, if private cloud is there, probably it will be a bit easier to collect the data from private cloud scenario. Once I set up that Eucalyptus, it's a big name. Okay, I think elastic utility computing architecture for linking your program to useful system, something like that. So that's the acronym Eucalyptus. Okay, and private cloud software can be set up with that one. And nowadays OpenStack is very much famous, and we are using it. So when you are going to set up Eucalyptus, different kind of devices are there. Log files are there, not devices actually. Log files are there which you need to analyze. Okay, when you are saving the data, when you are connecting to the from client to server, what kind of data will be generated. So all these things will be there, which you should take care. And then there are various network layer in cloud. There are various hypervisor layer. Okay, type 1 you are using, or type 2 you are using, and obviously hardware resources. So cloud forensics is something not completely different from the network, not completely different from the computer forensics. It's a process which include each and every aspect of forensics, like digital forensics, that is very much common. So in cloud scenario, if you'll talk about, there will be like network forensic involved, there will be computer forensic involved, there will be database forensic involved, and for that we should have different kind of tools and analysis strategy that is there. So I think this has been discussed in most of the cloud forensic introduction part. I am going to skip this one. I have just put there are 3-4 formal definitions till now we have. That is one from the Ruan ma'am. She is nowadays in Google Cloud working there. Kyun Ruan ma'am, Dr. Kyun Ruan. She has coined this cloud forensic term, and she has come up with this idea, like we have 3 aspects of cloud forensics, that is or dimension, that is technical aspect or organizational aspect and legal aspect. And in that she has discussed like if you are going to talk about legal aspect, you need to talk about multi-tenancy, multi-jurisdiction. Sam Zaud and his group actually is trying very hard to develop some framework related to the logging and secure logging. If you search about Sam Zaud cloud forensics, you will get a lot of paper, and they have developed very good frameworks. If you want to read, please read their work. And this definition, they are saying evidence preservation, maintenance, the integrity and privacy of the data. So that is their focus of cloud forensics. Okay, source identification, evidence-free data collection, evidence verification, presentation and report preparation, and all that. Okay, and then we have our standard organization, that is NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. They also talk about the event reconstruction, use of scientific fundamentals like machine learning algorithms for analysis purpose, deep learning algorithm for analysis purpose, and some scientific tools also. And then forensically proven procedures. It's not like you are doing something in investigation. Okay, because ultimately this part actually, this presentation and report preparation, that we generally do not talk about it. We focus on acquisition and analysis, or let's say attribution. Okay, that's it. But suppose that if there is any real case study of cloud forensic, okay, or digital forensic, or any investigation, okay, you are going to present before the court, and court is asking that how have you collected the data? You said, sir, I went there and I had 4 GB pen drive, and then I collected the data from a computer machine, and it has like 200 GB hard disk. So they will ask that, with 4 GB pen drive, how can you collect all the data? No, sir. What I did, I collected some of the documents, I collected some of the image files, I collected some of the video files, and then I left the device like this only. So this is not a right way, right approach to collect the data from the system. So they will say, no, this is not a good idea. Okay, I am going to reject this report. So ultimately, when investigators are going to do investigation, so they will focus on acquisition. It should be forensically proven. Okay. Most of the time it happens that people in real life, they do not use open source tools. Like I will discuss further that what is the reason behind this. But yeah, you can say they are not actually scientifically proven, not very much useful when you are going to prepare the report and you are going to present it before the court. Okay, so they will simply reject it, that you haven't maintained the integrity of the data, you haven't maintained the preservation, you haven't verified your data. So that is there in the, that is one kind of problem there in the cloud forensics or in investigation process. But yeah, these are basic process. Again, you can say, sir, पहले collection करेंगे, पहले identification करेंगे, पहले preservation करेंगे. Don't worry about it. Okay, we follow some basic procedure. So before acquisition, you cannot do analysis. So that will always be there. You should not say, sir, when are we going to do investigation? We will do analysis, then acquisition, then attribution. No. So basic step is acquisition, analysis, and attribution. That is there. So identification, like source identification, obviously, let's say you want to collect the data, but you don't know where is our device, where to focus. Like in cloud, it's again a great problem. Okay, because you are saving your data in the cloud, and it is showing you a message that yes, your data is uploaded successfully, and you are satisfied. Okay, whatever way I am good, my data is on cloud. But exactly you don't know where is your data. Okay, so that is the problem. Like it can be in Singapore, it can be in North America, it can be in South America, depending on the procedure, depending on how cloud data servers, how are they managing the data, how are they managing their data centers. So that is the problem with cloud. So identification is big issue. So since we will focus in this session about the data integrity, data recovery, location, imaging, that is actually basic part of data collection. When you are going to do, are you able to do this? Okay, can you maintain the integrity of the data? Can you really recover the data? Okay, data recovery is okay. Can anyone tell me the difference between data imaging? Data recovery and data imaging. Anyone? Any? Data recovery is data forensics. Data let me check my internet. Hello, am I audible now? I tried to reconnect. Yeah, okay, fine. So data collection challenges, I think we have already shared this document which Govil sir has discussed, and there he has discussed about the forensic artifacts, location of the forensic artifacts, volatile data. Okay, a lot of data which are there, like you are using one virtual machine, you are performing attack from one VM to another VM, and then you are deleting your virtual machine. That's it, over. Now, who is responsible for that? Okay, because ultimately a virtual machine was used to perform attack on another virtual machine, or even on a hypervisor layer. It's a bit difficult, I understand, but yeah, if attacker want to attack, they can make it possible, trying to find some vulnerability, trying to exploit the vulnerabilities. Okay, so that is there. Yeah, before going further, I want to discuss one thing about NIST IR 8006, because I think most of you will refer after this FDP, this document 8006 2014 and 2020. So the difference is that 2014, when it was published, it was a draft version, and that time it had 65 challenges, and when it was republished after public comment, okay, I was part of the document. So we decided that we will delete this FC10, FC20, and FC57 because this is no longer useful. Before 6-7 years, it was probably okay. We may think, okay, this can be useful, but after final documentation, we follow that. Okay, let's delete this one. But to maintain the number, forensic challenge number, we haven't changed. Like FC10. In the previous document, it was deleted, and in the previous document, whatever challenge was referred as FC11, we have kept it same. So don't get confused when you are reading this updated document 2020 8006 NIST IR. So that was just for information. And 9 categories challenges are there. Data collection challenges, I have summarized, so I will just pass it on. I will not discuss about it. But yeah, 9 categories, and they have 63 challenges in 9 categories. You will see that in data collection, we have a lot of problem because of complex architecture of the cloud, complex architecture of its algorithms. Like we try to make it everything as a service. We want to make it available all the time. So it will take a lot of complex procedures. So that's why forensic challenge also occur. That's one reason. Data collection challenge. I am not going to discuss. Don't worry. Don't think that sir, ये तो दूसरी तीसरी बार हो रहा है, एक ही document कर रहे हैं. I have just summarized it because of it is only focusing on the data collection challenge, like decrease access and data control in cloud environment. Okay, this is in cloud environment. You can refer the document. I think most of you have already downloaded. Otherwise, today evening after my session, I will send you the previous videos. This video will be edited, and other resources which are there, I will provide you. Okay, so decrease access and data control, chain of dependencies, like one data you are collecting, like 2 GB of data, 1 GB of data is in Singapore, 1 GB of data in North America. So how to synchronize that one? Because these data center, these cloud service providers, they are like don't want to reveal anything to their cloud customer. That is one problem. Okay, before going further, I think I am not asking question from you. Can anyone tell me, anyone know about Dropbox? Dropbox, anyone? I think most of you have used Dropbox. Yeah, cloud storage, yeah, that's fine, good. So is it a cloud service provider or a cloud client? If you know what is cloud service provider or what is cloud client.
Service provider.
Service provider. Okay, good. Anyone? Anyone else? Any other thought? Cloud client. Saket, can you please elaborate a little bit? Is client for, if you're saying cloud, this Dropbox is cloud client. So it's a client of which server? Please note down this one. You will be interested to know this. Okay. Storage purpose, you can use it. Yeah, purpose is okay. But yeah, I am talking about in terms of cloud actor, you can say. Cloud client, cloud service provider, cloud actor. Okay, so data available for a limited time in cloud, that is also a problem in cloud environment, because data can be deleted. You are using virtual machine, and frequently it happen. Okay, we don't keep our virtual machine for a long time. There are people who are using it, not a problem. But yeah, if you are doing some kind of computation, you are using it for, let's say, MATLAB software, you complete your work and you ask your service provider, okay, now I want to stop my service. I want to delete this one. So they will start the process of deletion, and they will not charge for this virtual machine further. So that is one thing. Other challenges, like I think 17 or 19 challenges are there in that 62 challenges that is there in NIST, completely related to the data collection. Primary category, you will see primary category and subcategory. I am just talking about the primary category of the data collection challenges, that is there. Evidence identification, dynamic storage, live forensics is not possible most of the time. Resource abstraction, application details are unavailable. Okay, whatever application they are providing, something like that, they don't want to reveal information. That is one big problem with cloud service providers. And for this there are regulators, but you know, that is not like in Indian system. We have various regulator. RBI is like regulator, okay, for bank system. So bank system follow whatever guidelines are given by RBI. But in cloud service providers are so rich that they don't need to follow any guideline. Though there are some enterprise architecture, we have a standard organization, but yeah, that is not mandatory for cloud service providers. I will summarize one of them, enterprise architecture from Cloud Security Alliance. Yeah, coming to this Cloud Security Alliance, this is not directly related to data collection, but I thought I will discuss it for a few minutes and then I will go further. So enterprise architecture, earlier it was known as TCI. Okay, so don't get confused, because the updated document is coming with this name, enterprise architecture, and this is the model. I think all of you have seen at least once. You will click on like this and management. I you see this internal investigation forensic analysis immediately. Not I will publish it, but I think just let me know whenever my voice is breaking.
Anand sir, voice is breaking.
I'm trying. uh, okay, am I audible now? Am I audible now?
Audible.
Okay, 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 got it. Yeah. So yeah, earlier it was called as PCI reference architecture. Okay, Trusted Cloud Initiative. That is the full form. And what is the purpose? Okay, and that is they help the cloud providers and also cloud customer. Okay, to develop industry recommended secure and interoperable identity access and compliance management configuration and practices. So suppose that some company, they are into the website management. Now they are thinking, okay, now we are ready to, I think I am clear to everyone now. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So they are thinking, okay, now let's try to create one data center, and we'll do that. We'll provide services through cloud computing IT model. So they have some recommendation. Okay, when you are going to do this, you should try to implement all these services: presentation services, application services, information services, infrastructure services, security and risk management. You should maintain. Okay, ITOS you should maintain, BOSS you should maintain. That should be maintained by the cloud service provider, and that way you can provide a good cloud services to cloud customers. So that is recommended, but it's not imposed that no, you have to do it. So that is one problem. Okay. So if you see these BOSS services, these ITOS services, these presentation application, information and infrastructure services, security and risk management services, these are the services provided by various organizations. Okay, these are industry standard architecture models. So if I will talk about BOSS, so BOSS is provided by Sherwood Business Security Architecture. Okay, so they take care about the business operation support services. ITIL, that is Information Technology Infrastructure Library, they take care about the information technology operation and support. TOGAF, the Open Group Architecture Framework, they talk about the technology solution domains, that is presentation services, application services, information services, and infrastructure services. If you'll ask me what is these presentation services, application services, it will take at least 4 to 5 hours to explain each and every services. You can see this complex architecture. They have various domains in this various services. Okay, so just to clear your confusion, like sometime you see BOSS or SABSA, they are together, ITOS and ITIL, they are together. So you should not get confused. These SABSA, ITIL, TOGAF, etc., they are standard architecture models, and they are taking care of various other services, that is BOSS, information technology, solution domains, security and risk management. Now I am directly coming to our focus, that is data collection, data acquisition. Okay, so you will see here when I am talking about cloud environment, we have various components which should be taken care for log collection, data collection. Okay, client level data, hypervisor level information. Okay, hypervisor virtualization, that is either directly on top of the hardware or after the operating system. So yesterday MTech students were asking, I think day before yesterday, so what is the difference between type 1 and type 2? I think now it is clear. When there is a hardware and then operating system and then virtualization layer, it is type 2. And then if virtualization softwares are directly installed on top of the hardware, that is type 1. Okay, so that is one information. So can anyone tell me if you know some of the hypervisor software, category of hypervisor software? Which one is type 1, which one is type 2? Anyone? Okay. Gen. Okay, yeah. Gen is a hypervisor software, but it is type 1 or type 2? KVM, that is also hypervisor software. Bear OS. Mm-hmm. And anyone know about Gen server? Gen server, I will say vSphere type 1. Okay. Any other? VirtualBox. What kind of what type of hypervisor it is? Virtualization software it is. Anyone? VirtualBox type 2. Good. So I'm getting response. That's good. It means you are listening interestingly. So we'll see. Since I am mentioning from last 2-3 days that it is near to impossible for us to get the data from these CSP side. Okay. So, but still we can assess that, because there is one document also, that what kind of data should be there, what kind of log file should be there, which we can collect. Okay. So if you'll refer this document, they have mentioned that if you are using IaaS environment, okay, that is infrastructure as a service from cloud, platform as a service, software as a service. Okay. So, okay, one question it is coming in my mind. Though this Dropbox, OneDrive, or Google Drive, whatever storage services you are using, that is software as a service or infrastructure as a service? Any response, please? Before going further, I want to know.
Software as a service.
Yeah.
SaaS.
Software as a service. Okay. Good. Okay. But we are storing our data. It is providing us storage. So can't we say it infrastructure as a service? Yeah. Now we have another answer. No. Pass, it cannot be pass, please, because we have debate between IaaS and SaaS. So can anyone tell me why is it not IaaS or why is it not SaaS, SaaS or IaaS? Probably this may be the question of your exam, like FDP exam.
Since it is an application based, so that is why we call it as a SaaS.
Bit close to the answer. Bit close. But one scientific reason is there. Please try to find it. Okay. Yeah. So now, as this document I was talking about, okay, they have mentioned that from SaaS environment you can collect these kind of data if you are doing forensic in CSP. Okay. In PaaS environment. So sometime it happen that when you are using only SaaS environment, you don't know the PaaS and IaaS environment. Okay. So that's why there are 3 colors and 3 different layers are there. But if you are using an infrastructure as a service, you can develop your own platform there, and then you can use software there. Okay. In software as a service, whatever software you have taken as a service, only you can use that. You cannot use it for any like platform as a service or infrastructure as a service. You cannot store it. Whatever services are provided by software as a service, only you can use it. Okay. Otherwise, I mean, I'm just discussing the basic concept of PaaS and SaaS. So that is there. So different kind of logs are there. But yeah, I am more interested about to discuss about client-side log files. Okay, whatever log files at least we can see related to the cloud environment. Okay, suppose that you are using Google Drive from your computer, okay, a Windows computer or your Android cell phone, and when you are uploading the data, when you are deleting that, you are accessing, okay, you are accessing that cloud service. Okay, so what kind of traces are there? What kind of information are there stored at client side? Okay, I will discuss that one. Don't worry. But before that, yeah, what kind of use cases should be there? What kind of question we should ask when we are going to do cloud forensic that I have mentioned here? That is in the NXT document, but it's very important. When we were developing it, we were like in digital forensic, you will see they will say a 1H, something like that. Okay, a question we should ask. But what is that? Why did this attack? Okay, and that is what was the motivation behind this attack from the attacker side? What activities were undertaken by the attackers? Where did the evidence reside? Or in VM side, or at server side, or at client devices? And am I audible to everyone? Because I have just seen you're losing network at message. So am I still connected? If anyone can confirm. Am I audible to everyone? Okay, good, good. We are going to directly switch to the case studies. If you are listening, can anyone confirm, because I am getting continuous. Hello, am I connected now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
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 sir.
you are
You are
audible.
connected.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. So I will discuss few more things, and then I will directly switch to the case studies, which I promised actually. I have all this, any of this topic. Okay, you can think about that VM introspection. You can think about the data recovery at live forensic procedure, database decryption. Okay, and then I have a lot of tools mentioned here. You can use it. I have provided the links, and then you can use directly for your interest. Okay, and these case studies. So why have I added these things like Google Docs, Google Drive? How is it connected? Okay, Box, Mega, Dropbox. These kind of services we use. Okay, like Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, and we use it. We access it via our either handheld devices or PC devices. Okay, that I will discuss, and what kind of information you can extract, okay, from your PC devices or handheld devices using some tools, some forensic tools. And they claim they are cloud forensic tools because they are providing you cloud related data from your client device. Actually, it is very close to the computer forensics. But in computer forensic, traditionally, how is it different? We can say that traditional computer forensics, like we focus on the hard disk, we focus on the RAM, we focus on the other browser activity. But yeah, we are same thing we are doing it in this case, like cloud forensic endpoint cloud forensics. Okay, but we are mainly focusing on the uh, cloud related data. Okay, what kind of data, what is that user, what is that cloud client ID, something like that. I will show you that what kind of data I have extracted from our handheld device or PC devices. Okay, one more thing, and then definitely I will go for the cases. Slide, and all the can anyone tell me, do we really need another actor, sixth actor in cloud environment, that is called cloud investigator? I do not have architecture, I do not have any model framework. This is just an idea. Think about cloud investigator. Like you can see cloud broker, and what is the role of cloud broker? Yeah, it on this is what is the role of cloud provider? A lot of things are mentioned here. So, like, if I am planning to have simple term, but yeah, what should be of can perform cloud forensics? So that is one question. Okay, tool taxonomy. I am going to discuss about it. The key studies that is on iCloud, that is OneDrive, Windows 10 forensics, and another one is hypervisor forensics. I will keep discussing till the time allows us, and otherwise I will share these slides to you. You can think that and then you can do your research work if you are interested. But I think this picture is not clear. I tried my best that I can show you everything here, but I think some of you are using mobile devices, or some of you are using some iPad or something, so probably it is not clear. I will just explain a little bit about it, that it is actually representing the cloud. How are we using cloud, what are those endpoint devices which we are discussing. What is that? Like handheld devices, client computer, we use these devices to access the services. Okay, and when we are going to talk about the forensics, for different components, we kind of tool, forensic tools. Like if you can see here, let me show you. For endpoint devices, I am using, can you see it now? eDiscovery EnCase, I am using the tool for endpoint devices to do investigation. Okay, one tool like here. For the network, I am using Wireshark Network Miner. This is cloud environment, cloud side environment. So I am using different kind of tool, UFED Cloud Analyzer, Belkasoft Acquisition Tool, Elcoma Cloud Explorer. I have added this side, like server side, because in cloud, when I was reading their report, they had mentioned that, yeah, we are mainly focusing on the cloud related data, and we can even extract the data from the server side. So I don't know how are they trying to mention it, but yeah, it's not like that you will get all the data. Probably they are using some APIs which you can also implement, and you can use it to extract the data. So I will discuss now cloud endpoint forensic tools. Before that, I will discuss this screenshot. Give me 1 minute. So how many of you know this cloud forensic tool catalog? If anyone have access, please let me know. Please raise your hand, or you can send message in the chat box. Computer forensics tools catalog. Anyone know about this one? Okay, I will zoom it a little bit. Yeah. So they have like listed what are the various functionalities of the forensic tools. So they have mentioned in cloud services, or database forensics, or deleted file recovery, or disk imaging, drone forensics, email parsing, file carving, forensic to boot environment. various type of functionalities of various tools they have mentioned. So suppose that you want to do some database forensics. So what will you do? You will click on this one, and then you will get some sort of interface, and there they will ask various kind of other information, and then you will select, like here I have taken the screenshot, cloud services, though it is not that much updated. When I was there, they were asking that I should develop it more and more, and we are waiting for some of the cloud vendors actually, that they provide the information to us that yeah, we are extracting some kind of cloud related data for the forensic purpose, and you can list it here. Okay, so that was just a project there. So you click here, and then you click the operating system, what operating system you are using. Suppose that Linux, and then you are selecting Amazon Drive, and then you are clicking on the search. So you will get the list of the tools, and those tools you can use for your forensic purpose depending on the environment which you have chosen. So that is one thing. And yeah, so this is another screenshot. I think it's a bit blur. So that time they had two tools there. Search result for cloud services, two tools technique found. So Elcomsoft phone breaker, and that another one is UFED Cloud Analyzer. So these tools you can use. You can go on their link, and you can download from there if it is free. Otherwise, trial version, or you can purchase it for forensic purpose, for data collection, data analysis. That is there. But my question is that, which I was discussing before a few minutes, that you want to develop one forensic tool, but do you know what kind of data you should focus? Do you know that where is the data you want to extract, you are really interested? Investigator will come into the picture and will say, okay, I will use the tool. But what kind of work this tool will perform? So what I tried to focus on those areas where you can extract some cloud related data. Okay, what is that? I will discuss. So yeah, this is client handheld devices like mobile app, and in that mobile app, browser, device info, you can extract this kind of information. Then personal computer, you can extract these information. I will show you. I have extracted some information, some log files, and will show you that what kind of information there, which you can use for further analysis. And at cloud service provider side, until unless we are not setting up our own OpenStack environment or KVM or Zen environment, we are not going to get these data. But yeah, somehow if we are successful to do that, we can extract the data like cloud provider perimeter network logs from IaaS. Okay, you try to set up OpenStack and see if you are getting these kind of log files. Yeah, I will share the this tool catalog link. Okay, and I was also asking them like, if you have this forensic tool functionalities, let me zoom it a little bit. Suppose that file decryption. So I think if you are continuously doing this forensic stuff, you know Dropbox decryptor. So it decrypt the encrypted SQLite database Dropbox files. Okay, you can use these tools. It is free of cost. So these kind of functionalities there in the Dropbox decryptor. Okay, but Dropbox decryptor has its specific task that it will decrypt the encrypted SQLite database Dropbox files. Like this, we should have some specific tools, or some tools which are focusing at least 4 or 5 kind of information from the system, and that can be useful to do analysis further. Because if you don't know that where is the data, what kind of data can be useful, how can you even develop the tool? So before developing the tool, before enlisting the tool in this tool taxonomy, I thought let's focus on those areas, focus on those locations in the system, that if we can get some related data, cloud related data. So that was one concept behind it. Like this, these are the data provided by Magnet IEF, Live System Forensics. I think someone was asking, so you can refer this one, that how are they focusing, and they are saying that we can extract the data from various cloud, like cloud-based data sources. So they have mentioned Dropbox, Flickr, Google Docs, Google Drive, OneDrive in 6th column actually. Okay, and what are they doing? What kind of forensic functionality they are providing? Cloud-based data recovery and mobile device data recovery. These are the functionalities they are focusing and saying that we are going to extract this one. So this is the functionality. So that's why, okay, you want to focus on cloud related data. So what should be the functionality? What are those components when you will install your tool, forensic tool, in the computer system? What kind of data it should extract? Where should it it will extract the data, and how will it store? How will it preserve the integrity, preserve the data? So where will it save the data? These things should be added in the forensic. Likewise, UFED Cloud Analyzer. I have mentioned this one at the end of the slides. You can find the link, and you can even use. Some of them are free tools. Some of them are not available as free. You need to purchase it. So I am discussing like how do you access the cloud services. You use endpoint devices, and in that endpoint devices you install either client application. In mobile, usually we use Google Drive application, and when we access the cloud services, we use the browser in the personal computer. Obviously they have client software for personal computer too, but most of the time we try to focus using browser. So if I am using suppose that browser to access the Dropbox service, okay, to access the Google Drive service, it means that we are going to leave some traces in that system which are being used to access that cloud service. So where to focus in that system, that I am going to talk about. Okay, I think this I have already discussed. Okay, some local devices, you need cloud user account also. But other than this cloud user account, there are some other information which you can use for your forensic analysis. Artifacts in local devices. What are those possible artifacts? Let's think. Probably the list which I am providing here, it's not the complete list. Okay, so that's why you may get a lot of other things here. Some you can do critical analysis of these slides, and you can say, no, Anand, you haven't mentioned this point. It should be there. Why have you left it? So you can focus on that particular point which you think that is important, and you can get some cloud related data, and you can do research. You can publish papers on that, and that is open to all. Okay, so whatever possible locations, possible things which I thought in the system, you can collect the data related to the cloud. These are some locations where you will get some of the data. Okay, at least if not much data, like OneDrive file path. Okay, most of us are probably using OneDrive or Google Drive in our system, and we use the client software. If we are installing the client software, it creates automatic folders. You keep their data. It automatically update when you are connected to a network in internet, sorry, and then it is automatically updating from that folder to the OneDrive server. Okay, and you can get your data anytime, anywhere, if you have that thin client device. Can anyone tell me what is thin client device? What is the difference between thick client and thin client? Anyone knows? Thin client or thick client? Anyone? Only console is there in thin. Okay. Any other thought? What is thick client? search for it. It may be the question in your FDP. Okay, so client software, endpoint device, which I am talking about. Yeah, I have already mentioned PC or your mobile device, iPad, storage and computing is there. Yeah, yes, that is there, but still there is difference between thin client and thick client. Okay, so let's see what are those information. I have just mentioned here the location. Okay, these are the location. These are some specific points which you can focus while extracting the data. So I am not going to develop the data here. Develop the forensic tool here. I am just going to discuss that if you are going to do this implementation of forensic tool, what kind of data you should focus, at least for endpoint devices. If you are focusing on the private cloud environment or public cloud environment at server side, there will be different taxonomy. There will be different environment, and that you can focus. Okay, I wanted to mention here a eucalyptus one, but I have already mentioned 3 case studies, so I thought, okay, I will discuss some other time that eucalyptus one. And some other thing, DLL files, link files, log files. You may think this is kind of computer forensics. As I already mentioned, yes, it is kind of computer forensics, but in computer forensics, we are extracting the data depending on the use case. Okay, here we are interested to extract the data related to the cloud service which we are using our accessing through our PC devices or mobile devices. And you can also use cloud APIs to extract the data. So this is you can check. I think I have provided a link here somewhere. You can check it. Otherwise, you will simply type Drive API versus 3 for Gmail API versus OneDrive REST API. You will simply get it. You just type on the Google, you will get it. Not a big deal. But yes, these things you can use to extract few more information which are not directly provided to you. Or sometime information is there, but they keep in such a secret box. You need to have a specific knowledge that click here, then this step, then this step, then that step, and then you will get the data. In that case, sometime API help us to extract the data, because API is focusing on particular information. It will directly give you that data. You just need to implement. It's available in various language format. And like artifacts using Google Drive API, that which I have used to get some data, like data contain file entries, file attributes, okay, operation logs, revision history, and these things. So I will quickly go through this case study. One paper you can find from the Rosev et al. He has published and he has implemented APIs. So that's why I have mentioned here the use of APIs, and it is available on GitHub, so that you can access and you can extract and you can use this commode.py to extract the data from the Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, Google Docs, and Microsoft OneDrive. Now I think you can relate from that diagram where I have put different kind of forensic functional capabilities, and then various case studies on Google Drive, on Box, on Amazon services. So he has not used on Amazon services. What you can do, you can take same idea, you can implement it for extracting the data from Amazon S3, okay, or any other Google service. There are I think more than 50 cloud storage services you can use it. Okay, same kind of just for practice, that whether I can do it or not, whether what kind of information is there. It may happen that sometime you will get such a file format that is not there is no tool which can decrypt it, because cloud, you know, they can do any kind of algorithm to protect their data. Okay, it's very hard to find their mindset, what actually they want to know. Okay, they extract all the information from us. They ask for all the permission from us. Okay, and we are ready to give. That is also a problem. Okay, cloud endpoint forensic tools. I will quickly go through with these tools. So Magnet Internet Evidence Finder that can analyze cloud artifacts from computer, smartphone, and tablets as they say. Okay. Some of them I have implemented, and yeah, I mean, in not the complete full version. Okay, I haven't purchased, but yeah, some of the functionalities you can take leverage of it. Dropbox Decryptor, I have already used it. UFED Cloud Analyzer, Ncase eDiscovery, these things can be used. And they say that to extract the data more than 25 cloud data sources, UFED Cloud Analyzer. So that's why I just said cloud endpoint forensic tools, not the cloud forensic tools, because cloud forensic, when we are talking about, we should focus on the cloud server, we should focus on the network side, cloud network side, virtual network, virtual firewall, and other things, and then endpoint devices. So whatever is in our hand, at least let's start from there. That is one thought process. That's why I am discussing this one. Oxygen Forensic Detective. This I have also mentioned in iCloud one. I have another slide for that. XRY Cloud. This need user credential to access the data from the cloud services. And how now? Let's say you want to use XRY Cloud, this tool, okay, and you need user credential from general, acquisition process, okay. You can get from volatility, using volatility tool, you can get some of the user information. And suppose that if you are getting user account detail, including password, you can use this tool and you can extract all the data from that particular cloud service. From that particular account, that account is using cloud service. So that is one thing. Elcomosoft Cloud Explorer, Elcomo Phone Breaker, they have a kind of bunch of forensic tools. So that is one thing. Belkasoft Acquisition Tool. Most of them are acquisition tool, where analysis, machine learning, deep learning, implementing, and then what kind of data set you are providing, that also different. And before that, what kind of pre-processing you want to apply. So that is not automated yet. But yeah, most of them are acquisition tools, and they extract some useful information. So something like this, I have already discussed this in a screenshot, which NIST CFTT project is performing. So cloud services, you are choosing cloud services, and then you get the runtime environment, what kind of operating system you are using, then what kind of services you are using in that operating system, and then search for investigation purpose, that how many tools are there. Even for file carving, I think you will get 25 tools, because file carving or disk imaging or deleted file recovery, it's a kind of established area. People are using these kind of tools from many years. Same thing is there, list of tools you will get. So you are selecting this one, cloud services, runtime environment, supported cloud services, then search, and then you will get the list of the tools. This is just imagination there. They can use it, but it's not completely added in the NIST CFTT project. Okay, so let's analyze our local device. Okay, what kind of data we can get? What suppose that when you are installing that OneDrive, what is the path of that process? OneDrive process. Okay, so these are some examples. OneDrive process path you want to get. You want to get synchronized files and folder location. Okay, you can get it here. So it's not like that, sir. This is very easy. We can simply go to the C folder and then users and then username and then OneDrive, and I will get everything. Okay, this you need to automate using the forensic tool, using the cloud forensic endpoint forensic tool. That is what my point is. So I am saying, okay, this is the data. Now let's see. Let's add some science there. Let's add some programming there. How to make our tool capable to extract the information automatically. I am just trying to click one button like in Wireshark, and then we'll get all these information in one page. Okay, so that is just one step towards the cloud endpoint forensic. And okay, you can say that component forensics, component of cloud forensics, and that component is like endpoint device. Suppose that cloud server is there and there is no endpoint device. Just assume. Okay, so what is the use of that service provider? no one is going to use it. Okay, so somehow endpoint is also important. We cannot ignore it. So that's why it's important to get the cloud data, the traces which we may get from that endpoint devices. From this location, OneDrive log data, you can get whatever logs, and they have different format like .odl, .etl, .etl, .log. These kind of format they have, and if you can open it, you can get other attributes of particular service. Okay, sir. When please sir join, just let me know. I will quickly wrap it up, and then if participants allow, I will discuss probably tomorrow if we get the chance. So, hello, Pankaj sir. Hello.
Yes.
I'm saying
Anand.
if Phyllis sir is joining, just let me know. Just drop me a message. I will stop there.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So local device, you can focus on the prepress files on these locations. You can get, suppose that this client policy, you are going to setting then personal and client policy.ini. You can get that share URL or file URL which you have used when you are performing that operation. Okay, what kind of operation you perform when you are using Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive, any storage service. Okay, why? Editing, some kind of data editing, deleting, uploading, downloading, these kind of basic operations we perform. And when you perform those operations using your devices, the metadata, the log files are generated. That can lead us some kind of forensic case study. Okay. From thumbnail, RAM analysis I have done using volatility. So you can use volatility for RAM analysis, and you can see what kind of data. Okay, can anyone tell me volatility is used to capture the RAM? Is it true that volatility is used to capture the RAM? Volatility is for RAM forensics, basically.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, sir. Volatility is for RAM forensic. RAM capture is done by Dumpit or like that tools.
Yeah. So that is what I asked. That can you capture the RAM using volatility?
No, sir. I actually done using Dumpit, capture the RAM and analyze.
Yeah, you are on right track. Yeah, that is there. So sometimes we get confused. Please mute yourself. Sometimes we get confused. Like volatility, we are going to capture the no. First, you need to capture the RAM using, as Subhasis they said that. I think I mentioned Dumpit or RAM capture, and then with different file format like RAM capture if you are using, you will get .mem, or Dumpit if you are using, you will get RAW format, and you can also use DD, and some other tools are there. With use of those tools, you can capture the RAM. Okay, and then you provide this as input to the volatility tool, and it can provide various other information like these kind of basic information that can be provided using after the analysis of that RAM. Okay, that RAM image, RAM capture, RAM picture, whatever you say, file system, miscellaneous others like process memory, process and DLL files. I will show you some screenshot there. Image identification in this one, I think it's blur. So you can get the OS information, you can get the service pack, hardware architecture, database address, number of processors. Okay, and this is what I wanted to discuss. This screenshot actually, that if your OneDrive is running or Dropbox is running, it is a process, right? So you will get the process and process ID also. If you are capturing that RAM, which is in your system, you have captured it and you are analyzing it. If you will use some particular command, you will get it. So you can see here OneDrive was running, and this is 11940 is actually the process ID of that particular process. Okay, that is a OneDrive process. So we can confirm. There are various case studies actually. I wanted to discuss, but due to lack of time, in 1.5 hours, I cannot complete all the aspect of this one. So you can just connect it with few things. Okay, what are those case studies where you need to identify that whether OneDrive is running or not? In that case, you can take use of this tool. It's not like that, sir. Acha chalo, abhi to 11940 we got it. Now, how are we going to use it? Think about those case studies. Make those case studies by yourself and try to use it. Very close to computer forensics. Process DLLs, other things are there. You are going to do browser analysis. You will get this. I should not show this one to you. I will delete it. This is a client ID 6205145. I mean, you cannot do any process with this ID, but yeah, you will get the ID, that client ID of your OneDrive which you are using. Okay, and some other various information like when the data was uploaded, downloaded, what was that. Suppose that I can give you one small case study, something like this. Suppose that you have used like OneDrive and uploaded the data, and somehow data is deleted. Give me one. Somehow data is deleted, and you are saying, no, I haven't deleted the data. So you will be very much interested that who has access using my username and password from some other devices, okay, and deleted my data. Suppose that some of your friend or family member, they have your username and password of your OneDrive or email ID, whatever, and somehow they are extracting the, deleting the data, they are editing the data, they are using your cloud service, and you don't want that. And now you want investigators that please investigate this one and let me know who is using my ID for what purpose. So then that 5W and 1H question will come into the picture. So that is there. And some other like using Cloud API, I said you can get these kind of information: modified date and time, drive ID, display name and ID. Display name means that name which are there, which you have registered, that is different, and which display in the service, OneDrive service when you open, or Cloud Google Drive service when you open, that is different. So it's like each and every piece of information, as I said, is important. I think Gaurav sir and Anup sir has also mentioned this one. And now coming to the iCloud forensic tools, I have like this one. What I did, I have used macOS to access my iCloud, okay? And then I tried to focus on some areas. Can you see this one? Web browser, system config, user profile, log files, memory information, network logs. And yeah, after collecting these various information, can you make a data set of these information? Okay, then you can say, Acha, okay, now we are trying to focus on web browser data. So this is data collected from the browser. This is history data set and cookies data set, and then cache, and then we are going to extract the information, and then we are going to analyze it with some attributes. I think attributes, Pankaj sir has already discussed. Okay, so like in memory information, user ID, and other thing. So I have focused on these points which I have mentioned for the macOS. You will see that arrow which I have only connected to the macOS, not to watchOS, tvOS, or iOS, because when you are going to do forensic for iOS based device, probably the data will be different. Okay, so history in the system config, physical address, system setting, OS information, these things will be there. So I'll quickly go through with that, and will show you 6 distinct layers. From your web browser, you can collect these information, and depending on what kind of what kind of browser you are using, Safari, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, and Microsoft Edge, the way they collect the data from your device. System configuration, environmental information, system security setting, file system, system version, something like this. These are easy things you can understand. Log files, various log files are generated. If you are using Mac device, you know that system log, Wi-Fi log, install log. Why I have mentioned this one? Not randomly, okay? I have checked randomly, but I found some of the basic information which are somehow related to the iCloud account or iCloud service. When I was using my iCloud, using my Mac OS and accessing through web browser. System state, running processes, memory information, same thing, because memory RAM is one special case where you can analyze it, capture it, and then analyze using volatility tool. So let me, these are the vulnerabilities available in various devices, and this can be exploited. And you can check the versions. Suppose that if you are using this one, this vulnerability will be there. And if you are using updated one, probably they have already solved this vulnerability, and it is a bit safe. This you can find from NVIDIA National Vulnerability Dataset website that I will share. Denial of service forensic tools. Some of them like Joyce et al., Gomez, Mirai, Arfin, they have attempted to provide forensic tool specific to the Mac forensics. Okay, that is Mega with timestamp model, traditional digital forensic tool, SQLite. They have used it and changed it also. So that is there. Forensic tools like OS X Auditor, OS X Collector, these are actually focusing on the Mac-based data acquisition. Okay, so it may not work on your Windows device. Again, you can ask what data remnants are available on MacBook system as iCloud has been used. What is the location of these data within the system? What data remnants are available in the browser after successful login to the iCloud web in the MacBook? Artifacts relating to uploading, downloading, and editing to the data. These are some questions which investigator or one of you may be interested to know. Okay, let's try to find it. And how will you find it? That is one question. So install.log, let me show you one thing important. Yeah, this website I have used, iCloud.com pages, and I uploaded one document, testing.pages. Okay, so the approach also important. Okay, how are you going to collect the information? Let me little bit. Okay, yeah. So the same file, when I was from my account only, when I was accessing this one, iCloud.com pages, because I have uploaded testing.pages. And then I got some relevant information like iCloud account ID, the file name of a downloaded file. But when I am accessing the same page from like this www.icloud.com/iCloud drive, okay, and then I am looking at my page and want to know the information. So some of the information I cannot get it. Okay, so other information is coded, only the file name I can get, but not the account ID. So these are a few important things while doing your analysis you can take care. Whatever way you just try to make it every way. Okay, now I can access this testing.pages from this location. Now let's access this location. What will be the information difference? Okay, something like that. Install log files when this is from your Mac system. Okay, so when I was accessing this one, install.log, I found some iCloud login status, cache file location, username, obviously, which I am using for accessing iCloud, user ID, email, which I have used, hash code, iCloud user ID. So these are some piece of information can be useful. I should not show you all this one, but yeah, I will definitely delete when I will send you, because this will not be in your use. Like, what will you do with my serial system serial number? Okay, so you can get from the system.log file, Wi-Fi log file. What connection you have used. Now you can say, sir, what is this information? Why this information we are talking about? Okay, so again I will say, someone else is using and you are checking the Wi-Fi log, and then in that wi-fi.log file, you can get these information, name of Wi-Fi connection, and you can say, sir, good afternoon, sir. It will take only 2-3 minutes to wrap up this one. Yeah. So
take your time, no problem.
yeah, thank you, sir. So like this, these piece of information can be useful for data acquisition, okay, and then you can use it for further analysis. So these are the, like, I have connected the name, you can see here, PSD1. I don't know if you can see in this PSD1 I was connected, and now you can say, I have never connected to this Wi-Fi. Why am I getting this name in my log file? It means your system was used somewhere else. Someone was using for next 2-3 hours and then kept it at your desk, and you can say, okay, suppose that one name is Cyber Cafe. So someone took your system to Cyber Cafe, used your user account and information, password, uploaded or downloaded your data, okay, and then kept your system at your place, and you are not aware. But if you will check this wi-fi.log file, definitely you are going to know if attacker is not, okay. So in that case, anti-forensics will come that even after using this one, wi-fi.log file is deleted. So in that case, you cannot do anything. But yes, I can do, because I will have the science of anti-forensics. Right now, let's stop here. That okay, we forensic karte, okay. Till forensic we will discuss. We are assuming that attacker has not deleted his Wi-Fi log file. Like this, some other files are there. I will send this. I will not delete anything except my personal information from these slides. And you can see that if these kind of data can be extracted, what are the different version of operating system? Let's see if there is any change. Suppose that I am able to access these information from 10.5 and I am not able to access now these information from 11.5 version, operating system version I'm talking about. So that is there. And these are various reference of forensic tools from vendors that you can use, okay. Hypervisor tool I wanted to discuss, but since sir has joined, it will take another half an hour, I think, to discuss all that. So quickly I will show you that this is AWS CloudTrail. This is from AWS Amazon Web Services. You can use if you are interested to read. These are some tools, cloud forensic tools. Some of them are not in development. So like Ovid and Frost, they have just developed in research paper during their research paper, and now you can take it and you can use it. Like Frost is very good forensic tool if you are going to perform something in OpenStack. Same as your ForenVisor, you can access it via GitHub. I have given the link. You can access it and you see if you can, because it is open source, right? You can make a copy and then add your own code and then develop some cloud forensic framework. Commode.py I have already discussed. These are some other tools from the cloud service providers like Amazon Web Services. I have shown you CloudWatch, CloudTrail, Artifact, Detective, Directory Service. These are the name of the tools, and I've also added the purpose and on which platform these tools will work. Okay, and you can read more about. You don't need to download this because it's not like physical tool. Amazon Web Service CloudWatch you will have in any device like UFED. But yeah, you can go and read, and you can use it probably as a software as a service or as a software agent in your virtual machine, which you are using from the Amazon Web Services, like Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. You can use it for various purposes. Like Azure Defender, you can use for vulnerability assessment in your at your platform side. So these are the things. These are the tools, digital forensic tools. Sometimes we also use it for cloud endpoint forensics. So that is useful. But for version is very important. Sometimes it happens that they delete some of the capability from the newer version. They feel that okay, we should not provide this information, or they try to add it in their proprietary version. So that is one thing. Whenever you are downloading, you please don't think that so I cannot scan a hard drive using FTK, because you know they have different versions. something like this. So I will definitely share these things, and including the hypervisor forensic tool taxonomy, which I haven't discussed. And any question from you, you can please post me. Since Billy sir has joined, I cannot take any question here. After this event, after 5:15, if you are interested, I will be there in conference room, and you can ask. So thank you for your patience, all the participants. I now request to Billy sir to take this session ahead.